What's up, guys? It's your boy Joey Medina, aka Carl Weezer 69, returning to you all in podcast form as we approach the 2025 NFL season and, more importantly, the 2025 Delta Omega Dynasty Fantasy Football season. I'm already fired up to be back here to give you guys a nice pod, and you guys should be as well because I'm in a good mood and I want to start the year off with a banger. Um, so let's just get right into it. This should be a good one. Let's get going. All right. Starting out with the pre-draft power rankings, which we all know and love. We want to know before our rookie drafts where we stand. But this is just my opinion. So if you're a little too high or a little too low, whatever. It's just me. I don't know anything. So let's get it going. At number 12, we have Riley. And I think we're not surprised to see this team at the bottom of the list here at number 12. Um, I don't know. The best player is Jerry Jeudy, according to the Wax Sleeper projections that they have for Week One. Um, other than Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Williams, and Hunter Henry are the only other non-quarterbacks on this team that are projected to score over 5 points, which is absolutely crazy. Um, I don't think it's an overreaction to state that this team is destined to crack the updated top 10 worst teams of all time list. Um, but fear not, the best is yet to come. There's greener pastures on the other side for Riley if he can just hold his water with his current draft strategy. As we all know, he hoards so many picks. I'd like to compare him to 16th century explorer Juan Ponce de Leon, as they both share a common goal in their missions by finding the fountain of youth. Riley has 10 first round picks and 11 second round picks in the next two drafts combined. And you know it, and I know it. If executed correctly, it could easily produce a super team, maybe the likes this league has never seen before. Um, as for now, it feels like the next couple years might be chopped for him, but I don't know. The next 5 to 10 after that looks pretty darn good if he can just stay the course. But if we're dealing with the Riley of the past, we'll see how and if that actually happens. But I got the faith. I think he's following this one to a T, but we'll have to see. Riley in at number 12. At number 11, I've got Tommy. To be honest, it was a toss up between Jansen and Tommy here for the 11 spot, but I ultimately went with Tommy here. The bright side for Tommy is he got four firsts this round or this year, including the 103. But I don't know. But as someone who personally just added a bunch of rookies this year or in the past year, uh, the points can really be feast or famine, even if you hit a couple home runs here and there. Um, because the reality of rookies is they're figuring out the game. So some weeks they have boom, some weeks they have bust, and that's if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, then you maybe have 6 points here, 2 points there. It really is just luck of the draw. There's hardly any skill. I mean, you can evaluate as much as you can, or as much as you want, but still up to the player at the end of the day. Be that as it may, uh, I did a previous mock the last time I gave you guys either a podcast or a document. Um, and so when I'm looking at Tommy's projected starting lineup here in 2025, I see it as, and this is with the previous mock draft included. I see C.J. Stroud, Ray Davis, Tyler Johnson, Travis Hunter, Emeka Egbuka, Colston Loveland, Matthew Golden, and maybe Romeo Dobbs. Off the top of my head and my notes that I have here, I'm not exactly sure if Dobbs would be his choice for his second flex spot, but you never know. Still time to figure that out. But you have to agree that's a pretty good start. I think respectable rebuild strategies to go through wide receivers as they tend to have a longer shelf life. I mean, I'm not giving you guys any new information that you don't already know, but it's kind of the way I thought he might approach it, but who knows? He beats to his own drum sometimes. Um, but and then when you look ahead to 2026 for this team, he's got two additional first round picks. I think his rebuild's off to a very nice start, but especially in 2025, which is what these rankings are all about. Outside of the 2, 3, or 4 pick next year, I don't see much more of a variance than that. I mean, I don't think the number one's in play, but it could be. I wouldn't be surprised. Um, but yeah, that's where he falls. All right. At number 10, as mentioned before, Jansen comes in. Um, like I said, it was a toss up, and I'll explain to you why I have Jansen slightly above Tommy right now. Mainly because of his veterans. Veterans win games, as we all know. Um, and we are looking at both their drafts. I mean, Jansen has a pretty loaded draft this year as well. It's just like Tommy. And it's really hard to choose which one you'd rather have because while Tommy probably clears a number of first rounders, Jansen is kind of peppered all around the draft, um, or especially the second round. He's kind of all over the place, and he has the 101, which I mean, who doesn't want the 101, right? But to decide which draft you'd rather have, I mean, that's up to you if you even care. But given the most recent rookie mock that I've done, I did project the starting lineup to be Justin Herbert, Ashton Jennings, Zach Charbonnet, George Pickens, Keon Coleman, Tyler Warren, Josh Downs, and maybe Jaden Higgins there at the 201. And I'm guessing he's going to be taking all the guys off the taxi squad this year because he does not have his 26 first round pick. So you might as well try to win some games. But when I look at this roster, it's honestly not horrible. Now that I've kind of sounded it out, but it also seems like um, a lot has to really work in his favor and go right for Jansen to really get out of the basement of the league in 2025. But I really do think this team has a pretty solid, I don't know, bones, pretty good jump start of what it could be in the future. So um, yeah, Tommy and Jansen both similar teams I'm seeing right now, and I really am a fan of both of their rebuilds up to this point. Yeah, I'm really excited to watch their drafts as somebody that only has a couple of picks in this year's draft. Moving on, at number 9, we have Trevor, and I can already hear the critiques, the criticism from him, maybe in the chat. Hey, it's whatever. We try to be as unbiased as we can be. But Trevor here at 9, and whoever you might have at 9 really begins the 6 team cluster that I've kind of thought about that are all playoff hopefuls, dare I say. And there's only about I would say 3 out of the 6 that are actually going to get in. So in terms of in-season storylines, this will be one to these next 6 teams or so will be an interesting one to watch because it's teams that are all still contending or ascending or somewhere in between. So it'll just be the roll of the dice, whose players are hot, who takes a step forward, who takes a step back to determine who gets those 3 remaining playoff seeds. But back onto Trevor. Um, like I said, I heard the critiques, and he's no strangers to haters. People have been predicting his downfall for years. But I have to give him some credit. He really hasn't fallen off yet. He's had some pretty solid veterans. But the reason why he slides in at 9 is just the lack of star power. I mean, he obviously has Lamar, who's fantastic, and Lad McConkey, who's great. Um, then you have guys like Devontae Adams, which still should be good, especially with the Rams. And then a bunch of solid, stable floor guys like Montgomery and Mark Andrews. And then you've got some wild cards like Debo Samuel and Ricky Pearsall, and Ayuk coming off the injury, and Dalton Kincaid, who really hasn't broken out truly yet, but is still pretty okay. Um, Maybe we'll call them upside dart throws to give him a label. But I'm struggling with this team because I do think, and I have for years, thought this team would start to fall off. But there's world this team is good enough to make the playoffs. I mean, I think that is not ludicrous to say. But as we stand right now here in the beginning of July, 3 weeks before the draft, I kind of like other teams a little bit more at this point, which is why I have them at 9. Moving on to number 8, we have Max. Um, I have a feeling there might be some of you out there watching this that might think this is a little low for Max because after the draft, he'll have a pretty sweet looking team on paper, and that's precisely the reason why I have him at 8 right now. We just haven't seen it yet. Uh, and to be a real contender, a real problem here in 2025, he's going to really have to have a couple substantial year 2 breakouts and have some hits in the draft. But I personally think that's definitely achievable. And I think if you really look at his team, I think you would agree. And based on the previous mock, I think of a potential starting lineup. He's got Jane Daniels, awesome. Travion Henderson, awesome. Caleb Johnson is going to get the volume. I think he's pretty good. JSN, Marv, Brenton Strange, who's people's breakout tight end potentially with Evan Ingram gone in Jacksonville, Roma Dunze, and possibly Tetaroa McMillan. I mean, gee whiz. I mean, a lot can go right there real fast for Max if and I don't think it's a hot take at all. Um, it sounds pretty sweet. And then you look at that and he had six more rookies coming in after that. Max has the most picks this year in the rookie draft. It could easily make this ranking I have look really stupid. Um, but like I said before, it's all speculation. I think he could age really. I think he could find himself in the playoffs. I think he could be 1 year away, whatever. But his rebuild's gonna really start to take form this year, and we're all gonna see it. This team has been slowly but surely, but beautifully built. So I'll have to give Max credit on that one. Ah, moving on to number 7. I have myself coming in here, mainly because when I look at me and Max's team, I think we have a pretty similar build, and the fact that we both built from the wide receivers out, um, and when I look at it, he's got more shots at the young player lottery than I do in terms of just the number of draft picks. To my credit, I have lucked into a few of fantasy football's most elite young assets, which is pretty dope. When I look at my starting lineup, I got Kyler Murray, Bucky Irving, Quinshon Judkins, uh, Puka Nakua, BTJ Bowers, Malik Neighbors, and JMO as of now. Um, this when I look at this lineup, it's got the capacity to make a deep run. I don't think that's a stretch. But I also kind of think I might be 1 year away from actually contending. I might make the playoffs, might be a round 1 or a round 2 exit, but I'm going to have to really see some utter dominance here this year for me to really think I'm a true championship contender this year. Still got a little bit more of my rebuild to go, but I really think this year is where I turn the corner from rebuilder to team on the rise. Um, but I think there's other teams with some very solid veterans that are still a step ahead of me for 2025. So that's why I have myself coming in at number 7 for now. Number 6, this is where the playoffs begin in this alleged preseason power rankings. I've got Dakota. Um, and to be honest with Dakota's team, it's pretty interesting. He almost certainly will be on the playoff bubble this year in 2025. You look at his lineup, you see Jalen Hurts, Omarion Hampton, James Cook, Nico Collins, Jordan Addison, Sam Laporta, Chase Brown, and Darnell Mooney slash Rashid Shaheed slash Rashad Bateman. Whichever one is hot at the time. Your guess is as good as mine on how that how this team is going to do. Um, but like this team doesn't disappoint. It makes the playoffs, and more often than not, uh, this guy finds his way into at least a third place game, as we all know. So I'm not counting this team out. I think it's pretty solid, and I think it could be a dark horse playoff team that, if it gets hot late in the season, could make a deep run. All right, top 5 time. All right, number 5, I have Liam. Okay, Liam is as volatile as a team as any team in 2025. He could be bottom 5, or he could be in the top 5. But for this list, I put him at number 5 because of the respect I have for his big three, his core of Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey, and Jonathan Taylor. They've all been top scorers, as we all know, in fantasy in years past. And it's a big if, but if they produce the way that they're capable of, I think this team is is pretty much as close to a playoff lock as it gets. If they're all, I mean, Allen should be top 3. JT is on the fringe, and then CMC if he's healthy. I don't see why he couldn't be a top 5 running back. Waddle and Kelsey are wild cards. They could have some upside boom weeks that could really help them win a couple games here and there. Um, and I'm just thinking when I'm doing these rankings that it's just for 2025, and I think when we're just looking at 2025, um, I think I need to see a team with this amount of name value and talent. I need to see them fall in real time before I really count them out, and this is why I've got him on number five, and it's at number five, and this is what I keep saying is veterans win games. So, and Liam's got the most veterans out of everybody, so I've got to show him the respect and put him here at number five. All right, moving on to number four, we've got Kyle. And when I look at Kyle's team, I see a lot of high floor guys. Jesus, that's loud. Um, Yeah. So when I look at Kyle's team, I see a lot of high floor guys and razors pretty much all over scattered his lineup. When I look at this team, I think of it as the definition of solid. There isn't one position group where I'm like, holy crap, that's the best in the league. But specifically, when I look at his running back room, it's really, really solid. I think there's a lot of point getters there. And his receivers are an interesting group too that a lot of people are high on, especially in this offseason, which is kind of cool for Kyle, I should say. He might be the candidate that gets there's always one every year that gets into the playoffs, that gets into the dance, and just gets hot down the stretch and just pulls out a championship out of nowhere. Um, I don't know if he's in anyone's top three other than maybe his own, but I think this team has pretty high hopes for the 2025 season. I think it's it's on the short list of teams that I think could make a run for the title, as much as that pains me to say. At number three, okay, that was the end of the playoff hopeful tiers. Then we've got the big three up top that I think we can all agree are uh, perennial championship contenders for at least this year. Um, Jesus. All right, at number three we got Irv. Here's another, like I said, the another great team. You'll really see the difference between some of these teams that were in the playoff hopefuls to the playoff contenders here with these next three, as I said before. But when you look at Irv's lineup, it's just awesome. I mean, you probably can remember it off the top of your head, but Burrow, Hn, Kyron, Chase, McLaurin, and Joku, Mike Evans, and Kamara with DJ Moore and Mixon as rotational players on the bench. Man, that's a nice deep team with a lot of upside there. It's almost like somebody new on on his team could beat you single handedly any given week, which is a great problem to have, or not even a problem. It's a great quality to have in your fantasy football team. So yeah, and if multiple go off, I mean, you might as well just forget about it and try your luck next week. I think there's an argument maybe for some of you in your opinions that you could maybe put him outside the top three, but not for me. I just don't see it. This team is kind of scary, and we've seen it before. He's gotten close to that 200 point mark a couple of times, um, and that beats everybody. I mean, what else can you say? This team is really sick. Everybody knows it. And you don't need me to tell you this. So let's just move on. At number two, I have Lewis. Um, maybe dare I say everybody's picked to win it all in 2025 based on one second. Excuse me. I don't think I can edit that out. All right, but like I said, number two is Lewis. I think probably most teams pick to win it all in 2025. It's got one of the greatest starting lineups I think this league has ever seen, and maybe has for a couple years. Bo Nix came on great. What a find for Lou last year in the rookie draft. Saquon, Bijan, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, George Kittle, Breece Hall, Ken Walker, and Dak and Vontae Smith on the bench. I think championship or bust is an understatement. There's just no way for him to classify his season as a success without getting the Westfall Trophy at the end of the year. Um, and he's got a really great chance to break through this year. I think we all know it. But it's been the great debate. It's eluded him the last couple years, and it's always a fun storyline to watch because he really did push all the chips in the table. But to his credit, got a bunch of young guys that really increased his team's shelf life. Um, to say this team will be a tough out in the playoffs is the ultimate understatement. He's going to really have to put up like a semi dud for anybody to have a chance. Certainly, at least half the league probably still can't beat him, even if his team has a mediocre week. Um, with these final three teams, you really can't say much more. They're beasts, they're monsters, they're juggernauts, whatever adjective you want to use. Um, and maybe Lewis should be at one, but you can't just you gotta to be the best, you gotta beat the best. And that being said, at number one, we've got the king himself, Hunter Hubert. He's number one this year. Um, I give him the nod. Not only he won the championship, he's loaded just like the other two teams in this tier. But the main difference that separates this team is he really has the most assets here to really further enhance and improve his team. He's got rookie picks, he's got tradable picks. You know, he's got flexibility, which some of the higher end teams just don't have, which is an ultimate plus. Um, when you look at the lineup, you've got Baker, who came on strong, great. What a great find for Hunter last year. Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Drake London, AJ Brown, Trey McBride, T. Higgins, and whoever the best of James Conner, DK Metcalf, Tyreek, Godwin, Jaden Reed is, will fill in that spot. I mean, there you go. I don't have to tell you, but this team is deep. It's talented. It's got a decent shot at at repeating. Not sure if he would win the popular vote if I sent out a poll and said who's winning the league this year, but I definitely don't think he's far off from the number one spot. But until I see him lose and see him get knocked off the top, he's going to remain at one for me until I see otherwise, to be honest. Well, there you have it. There's the top 12. Um, there's a top 12 preseason power rankings right there. Only time will tell if that looks foolish, if that's cool, but in years past, I've done a horrible job doing that. So if you're happy about your ranking, I have a pretty good track record of being absolutely wrong. So there's that. Let's move on. We're going to do a new edition of High Five today. Um, yeah, we're going to, and today's set or subject of the High Five will be top five crazy trades that'll never happen. And the reason I'll tell you why I'm doing this, not only, I mean, in our league right now, we've been a few years in, and everybody is kind of in a role. You're rebuilding, you're contending. Um, there's not a lot of movement right now. We've had a few deals here in the off season, but nothing crazy, which is fine. But has been a notorious quality of our off season is to have these wacky trades throughout the off season, just out of boredom, just out of necessity, whatever reason it is. But I figured not only to do these crazy trades, they're all interesting to hear about. For one, two, maybe gets the juices flowing. Maybe we see a little more movement. We're 3 weeks away from the draft. Maybe we start to see some pick movement as well. I don't know. Who doesn't like trades? I should have just left it at that. But here we are, the high five, top five crazy trades that'll never happen. All right. Uh, let's start with the lamest one, and I don't have this in the right order, but the lamest one I have here is a trade between at number five, a trade between Tommy and Jansen. And in this deal, Jansen gets the 109, the 111, and 308, and Tommy's 27 first round pick. And in return, Tommy gets the 110, the 201, the 206, and Jansen's 27 first round pick. Like I said before, this might be the lamest one of the five, so it might sound pretty interesting. It might give you some excitement for the ones to come. I don't know, but we're starting with this one. But when you really dig deep, it's kind of a fun one. Um, it kind of reshuffles the back half of the first round here in 2025, making the 108, the 201, Tommy Jansen, Hunter, and then Tommy again, which would be kind of I mean, it's just kind of funny, but just to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, um, you know, and then there's an added competition boost that is right up both of their alleys to swap 27 picks to bet on their rebuild being better than the others, which would be kind of fun. Let's talk about why it won't happen. One, it's kind of dumb. It's trading just to trade, but it's like I said before, it's kind of on brand for both of these guys to make a game within the game. So that's why I have it here at the number five spot here on the high fives, top five crazy trades that'll never happen. Um, all right, moving on to number four. I've got a three-team trade, fake trade between myself, Max, and Trevor. In this deal, Trevor gets Zay Flowers and the 203. Max or Joey gets Marvin Harrison and David Montgomery, and Max gets the 105 Dalton Kincaid, a 2026 second rounder, Riley's 2026 third rounder, and Joey's 2026 third rounder. Uh, this one's pretty cool. Um, and why it won't happen. It's a lot for me to give up. Personally, Trev would probably want more for Kincaid and Montgomery, to be honest, and Max would never trade Marv. But it's an interesting one to say to think about. But it's a good haul for Max. Gives Trevor a little younger. Gives me a fun young asset plus a stable running back. I don't know. Not going to happen. Moving on to number three on the list, we've got another three-team deal between Liam, Kyle, and Hunter. Three contending team uh, um, trade here. In this trade, Kyle gets Christian McCaffrey, Hunter gets Jonathan Taylor, Liam gets a haul of the 112 this year, the 209, the 303, and he gets Kyle's one in 2026 from Hunter. Jance's 26 second round pick, Kyle's 27 first round pick, and Riley's 27 third round pick. That's for those keeping score at home. Um, Liam gets one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight picks out of two players. Maybe he wants to pivot, but why it ultimately won't happen. Kyle Hunter probably won't part with three or more picks, and Liam probably won't trade those guys this year for that price, if I'm being honest. But it really shuffles the landscape around and an interesting deal to think about. Uh, Moving on to number two, we've got a trade between Dakota and Irv. Dakota gets Joe Burrow, Kyron Williams, Khalil Shakur, Kyle Pitts, and Irv's 26th third round pick. Irv gets Jalen Hurts, Rashad Bateman, the 102 and 207. Why it won't happen? I think both teams in this situation are happier with their current side. But I do think this one would be the ultimate league shocker if it ever did happen, and it does make a little bit of sense. I mean, Irv would have to break up the stack, which won't happen. Um, but he's an Eagles fan. Jalen Hurts is an awesome QB to have in fantasy. Um, Basically trading Kyron Williams here for Omarion Hampton. Um, and then what Rashad Bateman in the 207 for Pitts, Shakir, and the 2026 third. I mean, it's not a bad trade. It's just a fun one that I made that won't happen. That's the name of the game on this high five. All right, and finally, the number one trade in this high five that won't happen is a trade between Riley and Jansen. Riley gets the 101 and George Pickens. Jansen gets Trevor's 26 first, Lou's 26 first, Joey's 27 first, Tommy's 27 second, and Liam's 27 second. It's a mother load package. It's three ones, it's two twos. Why it won't happen? I don't think that's enough for Jansen to get off the 101. Even though he's taken a pretty big value dub when you lay it all out like that. And of course, I don't think that's part of Riley's plan to sell his picks right now. But the reason this comes in at number one is I kind of wanted to make a fake deal for 101 here and just kind of see if that got any traction going. But there we go. That's the high five. Hopefully that wasn't confusing to follow. But I can send you the notes if you want to revisit that again. But that's the high five. There we go. We got one more segment here uh, in this podcast, and it's going to be a crazy mock draft where every team in the league makes a trade. Um, and just as a disclaimer, every trade in this crazy mock draft with every team making a trade will be considered fair via keep trade cut, which everybody hates. But it's the only thing I've got. So Let's get started. We're going to start off like all drafts do at the 101. Jansen remains on the clock. No trade here. It's a slam dunk pick for Jansen, and he goes with Ashton Genty. Moving on to the 102. I've got a trade. Hunter comes up via Dakota at the 102. Hunter trades Dakota the 112 in 2025, Kyle's 2026, and Jansen's 26 second in exchange for 102. Darnell Mooney and Trev's 27 third round pick. Hunter takes a big swing here, and Dakota gets a nice package because in this scenario, he's really not infatuated with the 102 right now, which would be the only way I think he moves off. Um, you know, it's going to be aggressive moves here in this mock, and I think a lot of you will think that that's not enough for the 102, but when I put it in the calculator, it came up pretty even, and it's pretty interesting because you have the champion coming up from 12 to 2. So, fun little tidbit there. Moving on to 103, we've got a hot take here for Tommy, who sticks and picks, and he goes with Quinshon Judkins at number 3. Like I said, it was unexpected, but Tommy's confident Quinshon will take on the Nick Chubb role here in the Browns offense and decides to invest the third overall pick in him. And, one of the things that separates people in dynasty fantasy football and fantasy football in general is straying away from herd thinking and consensus boards and just taking your guy because at the end of the day it's better to be wrong on your guy than to be wrong on somebody else's guy, and miss out on one of your guys that hits, in my opinion. But in this crazy hot take mock draft, we have Quinshon Judkins probably going higher than he has in most mocks you'll see out there. Moving on to 104, we've got Max, and it's been a stable pick here for Max in every mock that I've drawn. Travion Henderson. Max goes with Travion again. Here, like I said before, I don't see a world where this isn't running back, and I don't see a world where this is ever traded. And I think this is the best running back left on the board here for Max at 104. At 105, we've got a trade. We've got Irv coming up, trading with myself. Um, Irv is trading. Well, let me backtrack. Four running backs are gone. Will there be a fifth? Yes, there is. Irv will swipe in, swoop in. Jeez, coffee's killing me. Irv swoops in here and he offers Alvin Kamara and his 27 first round pick and a third round pick in exchange for the 105 and Joey's 2026 third round pick. And with the 105, Irv selects RJ Harvey, who is a perfect fit for Irv. I think everybody's knock with Harvey is his age. When you think about how crazy it is, he's the same age as Kenneth Walker, and it feels like Kenneth Walker's been in the league for years, like a decade. Um, but in terms of a championship contending team like Irv, you need a 3 year window back. Why not take a guy that's 24 and in Sean Payton's offense? He makes a move for a relatively cheap price. I mean, it's a little expensive, but he's coming out from nowhere to pick this, so he's got to fork up something pretty good. But I think a guy like RJ Harvey really helps Irv maximize his championship window for the next 2 or 3 years. Um, but here we go, 5 picks in, still no receivers on the board. That is sure to change with Max on the board, who is not trading this again. Max is drafting Travis Hunter, smash hit at this point. Uh, you turn on the film and you can see that Hunter moves different. Um, I think the defense thing really scares people, but from all accounts, it sounds like he's going to be playing more offense than defense, anyways. Um, McMillan, I would be surprised if McMillan was here too, but I think if fantasy football last year have taught Max anything, it's you go with the dynamic receiver over the big tall basketball type receiver. Honestly, so I have Travis Hunter here at 106 for Max. Um, what else we got? Moving on to the 107, Max again. Um, I have him taking Tyler Warren. As much as I like Brenton Strange, like I said earlier, I just think there's no comparison. Um, Warren looked like an all-time tight end last season, and Ben Johnson uh, shushing the very valid take that Warren should be the number one tight end taken. uh, really create some value for this guy. I think he could really fall just because people might fall in love with Ben Johnson and Colston Loveland, who's also a very good player. But if you watched the college football playoff last year, you or Penn State at all, you saw how great of a player Tyler Warren was. Um, and as we all know, landing spot quality can really change public perception on a player. And it basically just comes down if you're going to go tight end in the first round pick is what archetype of tight end do you want going forward? Do you want the more Gronk style? It might be cliche because I don't know if it's a one for one comparison, but I see Ward as more of a Gronk style tight end and Loveland more of a Kelsey tight end. And I think there's arguments for both in fantasy football. But for this one, I think if you're just looking at the eye test, I think Warren probably passed the eye test a lot more than Loveland. I know he dealt with some injuries, but he's a beast, and so I got him. I got him going 7 here to max. Moving on to number 8, Tommy's on the board, uh, and guess who's still on the board is Tedero McMillan, which is absolute great value here at the 108. It's a steal. It's a very good start for Tommy. He really should eat if Bryce Young is a top 16 quarterback this year, which I think is should be possible. I think he's really going to have. I think you can pencil in 1,000 yards and at least 5 touchdowns, which should be good for I don't know wide receiver 12 to 18 at minimum. I think that's a great value to get at the 108. Now moving on to 109 to Tommy again, going to Emeka Egbuka. Um, he's got 2 immediate impact guys already. You got Judkins, McMillan, now Egbuka. I think people are split on Egbuka, thinking how much of an impact he can have year one. I do think that for Tommy's team specifically, it really doesn't matter. If he's a star year one, bonus. If he takes a year or two to develop, then great. He's got all the time in the world. So I think this is the perfect guy for Tommy to take. You know, Everybody likes this guy. This guy seems like an ultimate pro, an absolute technician at his craft. I mean, maybe the high upside ceiling isn't there, but I think a pretty good floor is here. And when you're starting from the bottom, just getting up points on the board is all that you could really ask for. Moving on to the 110, where Jansen is picking, and Jansen is on the board, and he goes with Colson Loveland. When you look at Jansen's lineup, I don't think anyone thinks Theo Johnson is going to be the long term answer at tight end for him. But yeah, you never know. He's a Giants fan. I'm actually not super, or I actually don't hate Theo Johnson that much. But there's just no comparison when we're talking about a top 10 pick here at tight end, especially Ben Johnson's tight end. Um, and he's got Caleb Williams too. It's an interesting snack. I think that a lot of things check the boxes here for Jansen here to take Loveland. Just makes a lot of sense. Moving on to the 111, Tommy's up here again, shocker, and he goes with Caleb Johnson. Now, I've said it before. I think Johnson is a very high floor guy. Maybe could be a pretty decent guy towards the goal line because he's pretty big and can get a couple yards here or there. Uh, but yeah, I think it's not a workhorse type scenario for him. I think it's a first and second down back. Warren comes in on third down. But the emphasis here for Tommy is he's really kind of hitting all over the place for his team right now. He's got 2 running backs, 2 receivers. And just to recap, Judkins, McMillan, Egbuka, and Caleb Johnson sounds like a pretty damn good start to his rebuild. Moving on to the 112, Dakota makes a trade with Hunter. Oh, we already knew that because Hunter moved up to the 102. Um, and Dakota selects Matthew Golden. Yeah, I think we can all agree it's crowded there in Green Bay, but it's first round wide receiver. You kind of have to take him. Plus, I think Dakota could really use another wide receiver. He traded Mooney in this hypothetical situation. Um, and I think at 112, you're getting a first round receiver. I think you roll the dice on that. And that's been my philosophy on first round receivers because they tend to hit a lot. That concludes the first round. Moving into the second round, I've got a trade at 201. Uh, Trevor trades up with Jansen, and he goes ahead and gets Luther Burden. Trev gets his guy, and it's going to cost him The 205 and lose 2026 second round pick, which is all the picks that he has. But to get a Mizzou guy, I think that's right up Trevor's alley to make that kind of move. And I think Jansen's okay with that, just moving down 4 spots and getting an extra second round pick. But Trevor gets it done and gets his Mizzou guy. Moving on to 202, Dakota is back up again. He gets Jaden Higgins. I just think it's best available here at this point, and to fill some of that wide receiver hole, I think Higgins is the ultimate Dakota player. I know he's got Nico Collins, but if Nico, who has struggled with injury concerns, goes down, I think this is an awesome plug and play here for Dakota. It's like handcuffing a wide receiver, which is kind of a foreign concept, I think. But I really do like this pick as it is best available. At 203, Max is up. He goes for Cam Ward. JJ McCarthy insurance on this pick. I just think, you got Max has 9 picks this year, like I said before. Why not get your favorite team's QB at the one overall? Just why not? That's been a consistent one on my mock. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. But Cam Ward's got to go somewhere at some point, and nobody likes QBs. Uh, and there he is again. Max is up again. 204. Max goes Cam Scattaboo. Why not? He's a dog. Take a chance. What else are you gonna do? I don't know. I don't got much else to say. I feel like you either like Scattaboo or you hate him. Can't convince you either way. At 205, Jansen back up again. He's going Trey Harris. Why not pair up Herbert and Harris? It makes sense. As this draft goes on, reasoning starts to go down a little bit. Everybody's rankings are different. 206, Jansen again. Kyle Williams. Jansen sees uh, Williams starting to slide. I think he just snatches him right up. I mean, I just don't think there's a thing as taking too many shots on wide receiver, especially while you're rebuilding. I think that's just roll the dice and hope for the best. You just never know. At 207, Dakota back up on the clock. A consistent pick here on most mocks is Jack Beck. There's just a lot of opportunities for targets in Las Vegas and an improved offense and improved quarterback situation. I think this could happen. Um, he's a solid player. Hunter up here at the 208. I've got him taking Scootin' Tootin', another repeat pick. High risk, high reward, but it's mid to late second for you. Take your guys, take an upside swing. Why not? 209. Riley via Kyle. Terrence Ferguson. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes a little bit earlier here than 209. McVay's tight end is kind of an enticing landing spot. Riley sends Javonte Williams in exchange for the 209 to get up here and take a tight end. Whatever. I had to make a trade. Interesting one, though, right? 209 sounds about right for Javonte Williams' value. At the higher end, I would say, I guess. Who knows? Moving on. 210. Irv is on the clock. I have him selecting Jalen Noel. It's a good fit, and I think it has a really good chance to retain some value here. Um, I think this is another one that I think I've kept the same between mocks, which is kind of interesting. I'm up here at the 211. I go Jaden Blue. Um, Running back dice roll. If he's good, he'll get snaps. If he's not, he won't. It'll be an easy one for me to drop next year if he's not. Um, Coming in at the 212, Jansen has Pat Bryant. Let's take another swing at wide receiver, Jansen. Why not? 301, Liam via Max. There's a trade, and he selects Devin Neal. Liam trades J.K. Dobbins for Devin Neal. Here, honestly, Liam told me Neal was kind of cold a long time ago, and I needed to make a trade for Liam, and he doesn't have very much capital. So, and from a value standpoint, makes sense. So I got Liam trading with Max here, and he selects Devin Neal at the 301. At the 302, the reason I had Max trading is he was picking another pick right after. Here, he goes Dylan Sampson, and this is round 3. So your guess is as good as mine is what's going to happen. So I'm just kind of rattling them off the board. 303, Kyle goes Brashard Smith. I think this is Pacheco 2.0, seventh round running back for the Chiefs. I'm sure Kyle has probably already watched a ton of highlights and be like, this guy will get on the field, hot, all that stuff. Um, Makes sense. Throw a dart throw on a player on your favorite team. Why not? 304 Max again. When will this guy be out of picks? takes Isaac Tesla. He just got J.K. Dobbins after he drafted, and then he drafted Dylan Sampson. Might as well throw a receiver here in. I don't know. We'll see. Probably have to be one of those guys he cuts with those roster spots that we've all been worried about. 305. Okay. Jackson Dart for Hunter here. Take a chance, increase value here. I don't know. First round QBs. Why not roll the dice? It's worked out the last couple drafts. You know, you had Penix, you got Nix. Actually, I don't know if Nix was a third rounder, but you get the drift. I feel like there's been quarterbacks that have fallen to third round that have actually hit, which is an interesting value. Not to say Jackson Dart will hit or not, but there's not any first round players left at this point in the draft, so why not? At 306, Jansen got Jarquez Hunter. I don't know, maybe get the RB2 role and uh, for the Rams. Who knows? Like I said, it's the third round. I'm not going to go too deep in this. Hunter again at 307. Mason Taylor, I think best available. I don't think this is the pick, but it's a second round pick in the actual NFL draft. Still available here at the third round of our rookie draft. Um, 308. I have Lewis coming in and making a deal with Tommy. Lewis comes in and picks Jordan James. Sam Darnold for the 308. Uh, he finally moves them, but uh, Sam Darnold for the 308. I got him taking Jordan James because I feel like every Niners running back that's ever existed the last 3 years has gotten a start. Might as well. Might help Lewis here for a week or two. And Tommy does it just for the memes because that's the way it goes sometimes. Number or 309 now. Riley's up on the clock. Goes with Jalen Royals, high upside, productive receiver in college. Here at the 309. Just take your guys. I'm gonna be a broken record. 310 or back up. Damian Martinez, buried at the Seahawks, but he's a very good back. So you never know. They can move off Walker, Charbonnet here in the next couple of years. You never know. Maybe he's good. 311, DJ Giddens. He's buried on the Colts, but K-State guy, pretty good guy if you watch the film. 311, I don't know, take a swing. And then last but not least, you guessed it, Max is on the clock to finish it out. Takes Taj Brooks. Maybe he can carve out a role as RB2. I think all he has to do is beat out Zach Moss. Um, Pretty decent value for a mystery irrelevant here. Um, could be the RB2 in Cincinnati. So yeah, that's it. Um, that's a crazy mock draft a little bit. Just trying to get more of those out there just because draft's coming up here in 3 weeks. I'm very excited about it. Um, but yeah, that's all I got. So hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side. If not, I'll see you at the draft.